Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Sans33 here, and welcome to my show of many about Pokemon TCG stuff, back to reality. And today I'm going to be doing a report on my 2014 Winter Regional Championships in Virginia. That's the only regionals I went to. Yeah, but not really much else to say about it. If you want to learn more about it, continue on with the video. This intro is really awkward. I don't know what else to say. Yeah. Just go. Just go.
So, Virginia Regionals has finally come around. This one was on the first week of the winter ones, unlike the last one I went to, which was on the last week. So that made this event pretty different. The event was about 5 hours away, which is much farther than Philly, but not quite as far as the one up in Boston in the spring. We stayed at a hotel room pretty close to the event on Friday, then drove into the event on Saturday morning. And before the event, I had to deal with one of the worst fates a player can deal with at a Pokemon event, deciding between two decks the day of the event. The two decks I was thinking of playing were Virizion Genesect Leafeon and Darkrai Garbodor. Yes, I still think Leafeon is a great card in Virgin. For once, I actually end up liking one of my crazy ideas. Go figure. Being able to deal that much damage for one energy is such an incredible attribute to have in a deck where your main offense needs 3 colored energy. It's also incredible in the mirror match, almost as powerful as Buffalant. If your opponent goes first and decides to Emerald Slash twice before using Genesect, you can get the first knockout with Energy Crush. It also makes the Yeti matchup almost even, which is normally a horrible matchup. Virgin is a very strong deck in general. Most of its matchups are pretty even, and Red Signal gives the deck a really great advantage over other decks that don't have it. The only problem I have with the deck is it has some pretty unfixably bad matchups, such as Raybor and Tool Drop, and since Virgin has been doing incredibly well at cities, it wouldn't surprise me if those decks were very prevalent at the event. Darkrai Garbodor, on the other hand, has been doing well, but is still preceded by 3 other decks. It also has no horrible matchups, unlike Virgin. It's much harder for this deck to be shut down, it has more options, and it was having better results in testing. I was pretty sure I was playing this deck, but I still asked some of my friends what they thought. My friend Arjun, who also happened to win in the senior division that day, had some wise words to say about my dilemma. He has had more experience than me with Darkrai Garbodor, and he said if I played it, I'd likely go into time quite a bit, especially since I'm not a fast player in the first place. So that settled it for me. I'm playing Virizion Genesect for the event. Spoiler alert, Darkrai Garbodor ended up winning the event, so maybe I would have been better off playing that. But let's see how this turns out. Here was the list. The Virizion, Genesect, Leafeon, and Mr. Mime lines are all par for the course, but I've added 2 interesting Pokemon to this list. First is Deoxys, which didn't come with Prism, Blend, or Psychic Energy. Since both Genesect and Leafeon are Plasma, both get the increased damage from Power Connect, both of which do even number damage, assuming the final 0 is out of the equation. So cards like Snorlax and other Virizions and Genesect that have an odd number of HP can be taken out much easier with the 10 damage boost. Including 2 Deoxys would be nice against Buffalant and other Virgin decks, but I just couldn't find the space. The second Pokemon is Drachi EX. I found this card great in this deck. Ultra Balls can become very useless cards late in the game, and being able to use them to get a supporter is very nice. I also wanted to include both a third Ultra Ball in this deck and an additional supporter, so adding the Ultra Ball and taking out a Colress gave me even more outs for a supporter. This deck also doesn't really mind if Drachi gets picked off, because if this deck can keep its energy in play, it should be able to win almost any matchup. I wasn't running lasers, so Skylar Bridge was a great inclusion. Max Potion was a great card for tough situations where your opponent's only out to win was KOing a softened up EX on your bench. Town Map was also a great card to not only fish out G-Booster, but also to get a supporter when I needed to use my Skylas to get something more important. I had 2 Tool Scalper because G-Booster and Victory Piece are both very annoying for this deck. This was a good fix for both of those cards. And I was running 0 Colorless Machine, which at this point is pretty standard for me. Other than that, if you want to see a more in-depth look at this deck, take a look at my Cities report. We have 9 rounds and 5 more rounds on day 2. Let's get this long as heck adventure of mine started. Round 1 is against William with Darkrai Garbodor. Game 1, he starts off with a really bad hand. No supporters and not enough energy to really use Darkrai. He draws tons of basics though, including Trubbish. I start off well, getting a turn 2 Emerald Slash on a Genesect. I make sure to red signal all of his trebuchets so he can't pull any shenanigans with laser. In the end, he still doesn't draw anything and I win. Game 2, he draws better, but not great. He can never seem to get a Garbodor with a tool on it. Sometimes it's a Trubbish with a tool, other times it's a Garbodor with no tool. Again, I see Garbodor as the biggest threat, so I red signal all of them. He also leaves himself with a lot of energy in play, so at one point I'm able to red signal a slightly injured Darkrai and energy crush it for KO. He puts a Silver Mirror on his Sableye and Junk Hunt. Since Leafeon is also Plasma, that's pretty annoying. I hit a Tool Scrapper and Energy Crush the Sableye for knockout, which puts me at 1 prize. He plays another Silver Mirror on a Sableye and Junk Hunts again, still with no Garbodor. I hit a Switch and a G-Booster to KO his Sableye for the win. 1-0. Round 2 is against Michael with Braixen Genesect with a Snorlax in it. Game 1, he goes first and gets the first Emerald Slash, with me not far behind. He uses it twice, once onto Genesect and again on the Snorlax. Doing this makes Leafeon quite powerful. I do it twice as well. He then brings up Snorlax and Team Packs. I send up Genesect, not noticing the block will cause problems if I want to use Leafeon. Because of this, I have to red signal his Genesect and Energy Crush it for KO. All he has right now is Snorlax, so he Team Packs my Leafeon. I have to G-Booster his Snorlax for KO. After that, he doesn't have anything else in play, and I eventually take all my prizes. Game 2, he gets an Emerald Slash on turn 2, unsurprisingly. And so do I. He goes the route of red signaling my Genesect and G-Boostering it. On my turn, all I can do is Emerald Slash again. He attaches and plays a Colorless Machine and G-Boosters my Braixen. I whiff my G-Booster or a Tool Scrapper, and he G-Boosters on his turn for the win. Game 3, I'm going first this time, and I basically do the same thing he does in Game 2. I don't have Colorless Machine, but if I attach an Energy Switch from my Braixen every turn, I can win on turn 5. He tries to hide behind Snorlax, but I just red signal around it and successfully KO 3 EXs by turn 4. 2-0. Round 3 is against Drell with Braixen Genesect Bouffalant. Game 1, he goes first, Emerald Slashing to his Bouffalant on turn 2. I'm unable to draw any Plasma Energies to red signal his Bouffalant, so when that thing comes up, I'm going to be in some trouble. He, on the other hand, red signals everything I power up and Emerald Slashes them. I have to move in and Megalo Cannon his Braixen with one of my damaged Genesect. He just Skull Breakers my Genesect. Then I Emerald Slash his Bouffalant and power up another Genesect. He Gold Breakers my Braixen, I Megalo Cannon his Bouffalant for KO, and he G-Boosters my Genesect for the win. Game 2, I don't remember much of this game, but it's a Virgin Mirror match. You probably already have a good idea of how it goes. The only important part you need to know is I won. Game 3, both of us get a turn 2 Emerald Slash, his being onto a Bouffalant. Time is running low, so I should really play defensively and hope for a tie, but I play the aggressive route and red signal his Bouffalant and Emerald Slash it with my Braixen with 50 on it. He, unsurprisingly enough, Gold Breakers my Braixen. I Megalo Cannon his Bouffalant for KO, but time is called during my turn, so he's turn 1. He sends up Genesect and G-Boosters my Genesect for KO. I obviously can't win at this point, so I just have to try and stall. I have no supporter, but I have a Leafeon out and a Tool Scrapper. I Scrapper his Genesect, retreat to Leafeon, and pass. He only has 1 energy on his Genesect, but he does have an energy on the bench. In his hand, he has the Plasma, Energy Switch, and Shadow Triad for the win. 2-1. Round 4, I'm against a Yeti deck. Game 1, he takes the early lead with Lugia, going down to 1 prize while I still have 6. I play an N and KO his Lugia with Megalo Cannon and put 20 on his Thundurus that already had 110 on it, putting it at 130. He doesn't seem to have much, so he sends up a new Thundurus and Braid Knuckles for 50, and puts the Plasma onto a Deoxys. I retreat to a damageless Genesect and Megalo Cannon for 110, and put his other Thundurus at 150. Now all I need to do is hit the Thundurus with a 110 on it and KO both of them for 4 prizes, as long as there's no Max Potion shenanigans, which he's played 0 of so far. All he can do is retreat to Deoxys, attach a Prism, and Helix Force my Genesect. I have the Plasma in hand to red signal for game. Game 2, I don't remember much of this game. We both get decent setups, he uses Lugia and Snorlax, but I end up winning. 3-1. Starting this round, I wrote the report several days after the event, so I may forget some of the details in these upcoming matches. Round 5 is against another Yeti deck. Game 1, pretty quickly he knocks out an EX of mine with Plasma Gale. Then I G-Booster it. Then he Team Packs my Genesect, then I play an N and KO his Snorlax. He has no energy in play, so he just has to send up a Thundurus and pass. I switch into Genesect and start using Megalo Cannon. He never really draws an energy or supporter, and I win. That game ended up being really drawn out, so I feel confident that as long as I play defensively, I should be able to win. Game 2, I end up drawing dead, and he pretty quickly powers up a Snorlax and team packs a few things and benches me out. Time is called before we set up game 3, so it's an automatic draw. Kind of an annoying draw, but hey, at least it wasn't a loss. 3-1-1. Round 6 was against... I have absolutely no idea. Sorry guys, I honest to God cannot remember what I faced this round, or who it was, or anything about that round, so... yeah. Sorry about that, but I ended up winning, so... there you go. Thankfully, the next round was a bit more memorable. Round 7 was against Harrison Levin with Blastoise. Sad to say, I can't remember much of this match. You'd think I'd remember a match against Harrison Levin, but for some reason, I don't. I think I've played this matchup too many times to differentiate the blandness that is the Blastoise matchup. But anyway, game 1 he doesn't get too fast of a start, but eventually he starts using Black Ballista. I've used Emerald Slash a couple times already, so I've got some Genesect powered up. I believe I G-Booster a Black Kyurem, then he uses another Black Kyurem and KOs my Genesect. Then I've Shadow Triad for the G-Booster and KO his Black Kyurem again. He doesn't have another attacker powered up, so he uses Beach. I'm able to Red Signal Keldeo for the win. Game 2, he seems to have a very bad start, and I can KO his only Squirtle. And he doesn't get anything powered up, and I win. 5-1-1. Round 8 is against a Virizion Genesect deck. Hey look, I don't remember much of this match either. Hooray! His list had both Potion and Enhanced Hammer, but was otherwise very bare bones. Both ended up being pretty annoying, but were workable. Again, I don't remember much, but I won 2-0. 6-1-1. So I'm pretty much guaranteed to move on to day 2 now. When I got to my round 9 table, obviously everyone else was too. So there were a lot of people making intentional draws because of how tired they were, and people who just didn't care about the match at all. My opponent and I considered having an intentional draw, but we ended up playing it out. Round 9 is against Jamel with Victini, Terrakion, Suicune, Mewtwo, Ninetales. This definitely wasn't a standard big text deck. This version seems to have a slightly harder time with Virgin. Game 1, he Turbo Energizes to his Victini early on, and doesn't use Intensifying Burn for a while, which gives me plenty of time to power up Genesect with Emerald Slash. Because of my Deoxys, Megalo Cannon does enough damage to 1 KO Victini. I end him and KO his only Victini. He has nothing in terms of a hand, so he sends up Terrakion and passes. I can't get a Red Signal G-Booster off, so I just KO his Terrakion. He sends up a Suicune and passes. I get the G-Booster and KO his Suicune for the win. Game 2, on the third turn, he gets a Victory Piece Victini, a Victini with a Fire, and a DCE on the bench, and he Intensifying Burns my Virizion. So, I'm in trouble, as you may guess. Off an end to 6, I need a Plasma Energy, a Tool Scrapper, and a Deoxys in order to wipe his field clean of threats. Off the end, I hit everything I need, and now I'm sitting pretty. That is, until I remember he had a Vulpix on the bench, and I have no Virizion on the bench. So he lasers me, flips ahead, and Hexflames me for KO. I have to send up my Deoxys and slowly power up my Genesect on the bench. But I have no supporter, and no way to switch out of the Deoxys. I do have a Max Potion in my hand in case things get dicey. Thankfully, he's drawing dead with no energy in hand, and all he can do for several turns is Hexflame for 20. Eventually I tap deck a supporter and play the Max Potion. I had to switch and KO his Ninetales with Genesect. He still has no energy, so I end up taking the win. 7-1-1. So I've made it into day 2 at 3rd seed. I won't have to win too many matches to make it into the top 8, so let's just not choke, shall we? So I get there day 2, and I almost missed round 10 because they didn't announce where it was on the loudspeaker. So I do get there eventually, and I'm facing Ross Coughlin with Blastoise. It seems that I'm getting slightly better at not totes freaking out every time I face someone famous. Game 1, he gets a turn 2 Black Ballista going second on my Virizion, and I G-Booster his Black Kyurem back. He follows up with the Black Ballista, and I'm out of energy. I send up an Eevee and try to power up Virizion, but he hits a Catcher Heads to KO his 30X for the win. Game 2, I get a turn 2 Emerald Slash onto a Genesect. He has no Blastoise out, and a Water in his Black Kyurem. On his turn, he plays a Rare Candy Blastoise, and plays an N. Off his N, he draws a Computer Search, 2 Water, and a Lightning. Instead of saving the Computer Search, he gets a Catcher, and flips Heads on Black Ballista as my Genesect. And there's no Beach out, so... yeah, Ross sure knows how to YOLO. I Emerald Slash onto a new Genesect. On his turn, all he can do is pass. I Megalo Cannon with the Deoxys out and hit his other Black Kyurem, which puts the active at 160, and his bench Black Kyurem at 70. He top decks a Chorus and needs to hit a Superior to KO my Genesect. Off of the chorus, he whiffs the superior and scoops. Game 3, he yet again gets a turn to Black Ballista, but time is called on the same turn. Obviously neither of us can get the win, and it's a draw. Now the question is, do I make out Ross as a slow player joke or not? Yeah, I think I will. I tied against Ross? Oh boy, who would have expected that? 7-1-2. Round 11, I'm against Kevin Nance with Raybor. Game 1, he gets a Dragon Burst on the third turn, and I don't have much of a response. That seems to be how this matchup always goes. Game 2, he isn't drawing a supporter or an Emboar, but he's attaching every turn. Once he has 3 energy on his Rayquaza, I send up a Leafeon and Energy Crush with the Deoxys on the bench for 70. He attaches to his benched Reshiram and Dragon Bursts my Leafeon. I then switch into my Genesect and KO his Rayquaza and put 20 on the Reshiram. Then he top decks a supporter and gets a Rare Candy Emboar and 2 energy for his Reshiram and blue flares my Genesect. I have to Emerald Slash on my Genesect. He puts 2 energy on his active Reshiram and 2 on his bench Rayquaza, and blue flares my Virizion. I attach a G-Booster and play an N. I KO the Reshiram and put 20 on his Rayquaza. He has to send up his Rayquaza and pass. I attach and use G-Booster. I have the Plasma in hand to win next turn. He sends up his other Rayquaza and top decks a Juniper. Off the Juniper, he hits the energy needed to KO my Genesect for the win. 7-2-2. Round 12 is against Angel with Deity. He starts off using Raiden Knuckle onto Snorlax, and pretty quickly starts using Team Pact. Even with Leafeon, this deck has trouble with a very fast Team Pact, and funnily enough, I get steamrolled pretty quickly and lose. Game 2, pretty much the same thing happens here. This matchup is tougher than you might think. Lugia and Snorlax are 2 things this deck hates. 7-3-2. Round 13 is against Brian with Virizion Genesect. So, as some of you may know, Virginia Regionals was streamed by the folks at On The Bubble. This round, my opponent and I were lucky enough to be featured on the stream this round. If you want to watch the video, click on the left box. If you want to skip the report of this match as to not spoil the video, click the right box. If you want to hear the quick overview of the match, just wait around. Alright, let's get started. Game 1, I go first, starting off with a Virizion and a Genesect on the bench to his Bouffalant. I miss an energy attachment, which really hurts. He benches a Virizion and has to Skylift for a Float Stone, retreat to his Virizion, attach a Plasma to it, and pass. Both of us are able to use Emerald Slash next turn, both on a Genesect. He goes for the red signal on my Genesect and G-Booster play, leaving me with just the Virizion with energy. I play an N, and off it I thankfully hit a Tool Scraper to get rid of his G-Booster, and have to Emerald Slash to a Genesect. With that Tool Scraper, all he can do is switch into Virizion and power up his Bouffalant. I red signal his Bouffalant, and hit it with Emerald Slash, charging up another Genesect. But there's only 1 grass in my deck, which is painful. All he can do is Gold Breaker my Virizion for knockout, putting him at 2 prizes to my 6. I attach the grass that was in my hand beforehand, and finally get an EV out, which is nice. Then I knock out his Bouffalant with Megalo Cannon. He ends himself down to 2, which means I'll stay alive this turn for sure. All he can do is Emerald Slash and get nothing. He does at least have a Genesect power up, which I proceed to red signal and KO it with G-Booster. With just the Virizion in play, he really can't do anything and I win. Game 2, he goes first with a standard start, getting an energy onto Virizion. I, on the other hand, start Jirachi EX, while also getting an energy onto Virizion. He Emerald Slashes to a Bouffalant, and I Emerald Slash to a Genesect, while also getting an EV out. He uses his turn to Emerald Slash on the second time, onto another Bouffalant. The nice thing about this is that if I decide to use Leafeon, Bouffalant can barely do anything to it. I take this opportunity and KO his Virizion with Energy Crush. Now, if he attaches to Genesect and red signals my Virizion, I can KO his Bouffalant with Energy Crush. If he doesn't do that, he'll survive Energy Crush, but he'll just be hitting my Leafeon for 60, which barely even matters. He goes the red signal route and proceeds to get KO'd by my Leafeon. On his turn, he energy switches off his Bouffalant to a Genesect, attaches a grass to Genesect, plays G-Booster and ends. He Megalo Cannons my Leafeon and puts 20 on my Jirachi, putting it at 70. Off the end, I have total garbage. All I can do is red signal his Bouffalant, retreat to Jirachi, and pass. One thing I overlooked with this play is Jirachi can be KO'd by a laser and Burbank, which is exactly what happened. His Bouffalant does stay active though, which is my only saving grace now. I play an N and whip energy to attack, so I pass with Genesect active. He plays an N, and off his 1 card, he plays a laser and passes. All I have is an Ultra Ball for Virizion to get rid of the poison and pass. He top decks a Juniper and hits the switch for game. Game 3, time is running low, so I'm going to need to play fast and draw well this game if I want to win. So on my first turn, I play a town map and find 3 plasma energy in my prizes. The only energy in my hand is the 4th one, but I decide to just play in my N, knowing I'm going to need that plasma energy if I'm going to win. Off the N, I whiff the energy. Okay, this is getting absurd. His start is even worse, with 2 Genesect. All he can do is red signal my Genesect and laser it. Eventually I do Emerald Slash, but afterwards he G-boosters my Virizion. Then I G-booster his Genesect, leaving me with 1 energy and him with 0. Very soon time is called and neither of us can get anything powered up, and we call it a draw. 7-3-3. Well, this is a choke if I've ever seen one. I think this puts me out of Top Cut. With such a good day 1, that's pretty sad. Round 14 is against Mike Diaz with the Yeti. So it turns out that Mike Diaz has 1 more point than I do. I have 24 and he has 25. We thought to get into Top Cut, you need 28, and 27 would have no chance of making it, and that 24 would make it into Top 16. So after he very politely asked me to scoop to him, I agreed. We played for fun because I was really bored, and I won 2-0. Of course the one match I win is the one I end up scooping. So I make it in at 22nd. Oh. Well. That's rather disappointing. It also turns out that Mike Diaz only made top 16, so me scooping was really entirely pointless. Now I know to never trust this stupid point system ever again. At least now I know someone to call when I need a favor. One of Mike Diaz's friends was kind enough to give me his packs for getting screwed out of top 16, so thank you, even though I don't remember your name.
And there you have my 2014 Winter Regional Championships in Virginia report. Hope you all enjoy it. I certainly had a lot of fun at this event. Really cool event. Got to see a lot of famous players in person, which I thought was really cool. Listening to them all would take too long, so let's just skip past that. Getting top 32, I guess you could call that an accomplishment. I mean, with such a great day 1, not so much, but I don't know. If you didn't learn about what happened at the event, top 32 would be a pretty cool accomplishment. So let's just stick with that. Yeah, that's the last tournament we'll be having in this format. So say goodbye to it, guys. Moving on to X and Y stuff in the future. Speaking of which, I am going to be doing a X and Y set review very soon in this channel. Stay tuned for that. I definitely have a lot of rogue decks lined up for X and Y, so take a look for those. There's gonna be testing a lot of those, and you guys are gonna get results of them on my channel as well. The X and Y video maybe a few weeks from now, even though the scans were just recently released. I usually get these videos out a lot sooner, but with Winter Regionals and cities and a lot of other things going on in my life, I haven't had time to edit as much, so I'm going to be behind on videos. But XY set review is coming, and Rogue Deck analysis is also coming. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time for more Pokemon TCG videos. Later.